Baylor was 0-3. Now they're 5-3. Beat Kansas. They've lost 3 in a row. The Big 12 tonight with Iowa State, Kansas State, one of the featured matchups in the country. Every game seems to be. Pat Nunley, broadcast analyst for Baylor Radio, joins us on 365 Sports. Pat, great atmosphere, obviously. You've been a part of many of those. Why is Baylor on a 5-game winning streak?
David, I think they're just learning and they're growing. I mean, people don't realize this is the second youngest team in the Big 12. And so they've had to take their lumps, and they've been able to learn from those and grow. And I think the youth of the team is becoming a little more experienced. I think they've got some wisdom around what they're doing. And I think really in a nutshell, it's that. It's interesting when Coach Drew has said, when you're winning, only the coaches see the things that are wrong. And when you're losing, everybody sees them. And so the Marquette loss and then some of the other losses they had got everybody bought into, you know, maybe we're not as good as we think we are, or we have been hyped up to be. And they just continue to grind and get better and try some new things. They play a little zone here and there. And you look up and they've won the games they were supposed to win. And then they got a win against another top 10 team last night. That's a signature win. I mean, Kansas has lost 3 in a row, but they're still Kansas. And they're going to get it turned around. But I think it's just plug away, stay the course, learn, adapt, and grow. And this is a more mature team, and it's showing. I mean, they've now gone to 5-3 in the league, and they've won 5 in a row, which is far and away the longest winning streak in the Big 12.
Pat, they kind of have their rotation down now, and it looks like 8 people. I'm sure that Dale Bonner will get some time down the stretch, obviously as needed, but it looks like they found what they're going to be. And one of the things I noticed last night, and because I think it's been kind of awkward for him on the court more than anybody, but Caleb Lohner really had his best minutes last night. What do you attribute that to?
Just understanding his role, and he totally embraces his role. He's not out there to score. They're not trying to get him shot. He's just got to be a really physical player and get big he-man kind of rebounds and play defense, and he can do it. I mean, he's built. He's aggressive. He's got a nose for the ball. You know, he played, I think, 8 minutes maybe at Oklahoma. He got 6 rebounds in 8 or 9 minutes, and that's what he's out there to do. And he's always got a great attitude about it. He's going to take all the minutes they'll give him, but he just completely embraced his role. And he's another guy that, you know, you go from BYU to Baylor, it's a different league. It's a completely different league. And it's a different system. It's a different offense, different defense, and it's taken a little bit of time to learn that. And like everybody else, he's just starting to get his arms around it.
Pat, I guess in that same vein, probably some of the same answers for this question, but Jalen Bridges, it feels like ever since he went back to Morgantown, it was like a weight was lifted off of his shoulders, or just some freedom was found there, because he's been sensational since. Your thoughts on Bridges and what we've seen as of late from him?
Yeah, the one word I think that describes Bridges is confidence. He's got it now. And I think the inability to make threes was holding him back. It was messing with him a little bit. But I've said all along, threes for Jalen Bridges are nice to have, but they're not a must-have. I mean, if he can make some, that's great. And he's making a few, made 1 out of 2 last night, had 3 gigantic threes down the stretch against Oklahoma. But threes can come elsewhere. What he's got to do is what he's doing now. And that's get every loose ball, take charges. Defensively, he was a beast last night. Got a couple of blocks in crucial situations, got to the offensive glass, had 9 rebounds and 11 points. That's what, and he needs to make free throws, and he has made them. That's, I think, why they brought Jalen Bridges in, and he's now making some threes, which helps, obviously. But I think the biggest plus for him is now he's confident, he's playing a little freer, a little looser. And, you know, when you're not confident, you're hesitant. And when you're hesitant and you're guessing a little bit, you're not playing at full speed. Now he's playing at full speed.
Did you think this would be who he should be right now? Is this what Baylor thought he would be?
I thought so, yeah. I mean, he probably was expected to be more of a perimeter threat, but that's coming around, and he is now. And the key is you got to guard him. You can't leave him alone. And when you've got to guard him honestly, then things in the Baylor half-court offense work a lot better. And, you can't double team like you would the other three guards. So I think this is where they expected him to be. And now we're seeing the true Jalen Bridges. And I'm telling you, in conference play, he has been sensational. He really has. And it's all those things I just talked about. I mean, you think about it. Against Oklahoma, Baylor got 30 second chance points. Last night, they got more offensive rebounds than they did defensive rebounds. They had, I think, 18 second chance points to Kansas 4, and Jalen Bridges is a huge part of that. That is a significant part of Baylor's success offensively. So he's playing a role, maybe not the role they expected him to play when they got him.
Pat, how surprised are you at Kansas's depth issues? It's coming off a national championship, so you do lose, you kind of maybe lose more people than you would normally because people are going to strike while the iron's hot professionally. But certainly looks like they're missing McCormick quite a bit. And their freshmen that are stud freshmen, I mean, everybody in the country wants the guys that Bill Self recruits, just haven't been there yet. It's kind of weird. I'm sure he's trying to figure it out, but how does that happen to a Bill Self team?
Well, they've got 3 McDonald's All-Americans on their roster as freshmen. Grady Dick is one of them. Then they got 2 other guys. And Dick's the only guy that's really helping them right now. And, I mean, not only is he helping them, he's really good. He might even be projected to possibly be a lottery pick. But they've got guys. Those guys just aren't quite ready yet. So I'm a little surprised at their lack of depth. I mean, they've got the guys, but those guys just haven't been productive. The thing that really stands out at me, and I think, Paul, you mentioned it, is their lack of a big guy. You think about Kansas when they've been really good. They've had an anchor in the low post who could really score. And a lot of their offense was played through the low post, and they just don't have that. I mean, they had McCormick. They had
Doak.
Azubuike. Yeah, Doak. And then go on and on in the years that Kansas has been really good, and that's pretty much most years. So they're missing that guy, and it's showing. And I think because of that, they're scrambling a little bit offensively.
Pat, so they have Alabama. God, I've said Alabama all day. They have Arkansas Saturday. I don't know if you'd want any piece of Alabama. Of course, Baylor plays the elite schedule, as a lot of this SEC Big 12 matchups will be. So you have Arkansas. They're good. And then you have Texas coming up after that. It doesn't get easier. This is part of the Big 12. Your thoughts about, is this team capable, without getting ahead of themselves or getting ahead of themselves for us ahead of themselves, is it capable of ripping off a run here?
It is. I think it absolutely is, because they finally found a groove. Now, they're not going to go undefeated. They're going to lose some games. You just mentioned it. The Big 12 is a gauntlet. In fact, I saw a Ken Palm projection the other day projecting a 4-way tie for first place with a record of 11-7 in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but it makes the point that you in the league, you're going to take your lumps. And you're not going to have the kind of record. Baylor, Kansas won the league a year ago, 14-4, both teams. So it's a better league, top to bottom. But I do think this team might even be better playing from behind, right? I mean, they got down 0-3, won now 5 in a row. They're chomping at the bit. They don't care who they play right now. They're just ready to go. In fact, they kind of like the Saturday-Monday thing now that they've got through it. And, we're talking to some of the players after the game last night, and they're all saying, we don't want to wait till Saturday. We kind of like to play again Wednesday. That's how you feel when you're on a roll, and that's exactly where they are. So Arkansas will be tough, no question. It's another sellout. I think the home crowd will play as big a role in the outcome of that game as they did last night. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's a really good time, I think, to be a Baylor basketball fan, because the best for this team, I believe, is ahead of them.
Then, Pat, my question to follow up with that, and thanks for your time. I know it's been a busy afternoon for you as well. To do all this, to tweak all this, for guys to understand their roles better, not just because of minutes played. There aren't as many practices. There's some. They're going to get more this week because of the Monday to Saturday. How difficult is that to try to get all this together with a 3-game losing streak and not much time to practice?
Yeah, it's difficult because they're kind of learning on the fly. I think the good news is, and this is not going to diminish the wins they had, but they were able to play at Tech, winless, able to go to West Virginia, who at the time was winless, went to Oklahoma, a team that can beat anybody, and were able to win that game. Oklahoma State, again, kind of middle, lower echelon of the league, and they took care of business, and they learned along the way, and then they needed to get a signature win. They've already got a top 10 win this season. They needed another one, and they got it last night. And now, last night, I think, validated the run that they're on. I mean, it's still, this is not vintage Kansas, but it's still a top 10 team, and they knocked them off, and now they're thinking, okay, I think maybe we're making the move that we need to be making. So I just, again, I like where they are. They're still learning, and I think the practice this week will really help them. They need to practice, and they need to watch film, again, because every game is a bit of a stepping stone in the learning curve, and right now that learning curve has been accelerated.
Pat, thank you as always. Greatness. Appreciate your time, the inside experience. Pat Nunley, Baylor radio color analyst for Baylor men's basketball, with us on 365 Sports. You know, I was watching the game.